Hi all, Justin Fields here. Like many of you, I am still trying to figure out the location of Forrest Fenn's hiding spot for his treasure chest. I know there are a lot of videos that have been going around lately focusing on Yellowstone and in particular Slough Creek and some in the Bighorn Mountains and Medicine Wheel. I just wanted to put together a list of a half dozen criteria that I think are incredibly important to keep in mind when we're evaluating spots out in the Rockies to see whether they're potential hiding places for the chest. So just wanted to share those with you here, things that maybe you can keep in mind as you're taking a look at these regions to see if they're actually viable. So the first is something that Jack confirmed, which is the presence of physical water at where warm waters halt. Somebody asked whether there were physical, quote, warm waters at WWWH, and he said yes. The fact that warm was in quotes doesn't necessarily confirm that the waters are warm temperature-wise, just that they were warm to Forrest. Whether that's metaphorical or physically warm is to be determined, but the presence of physical water at the starting point is verified. As part of my Kirwin, Wyoming solve, I used the borderline between Hot Springs County and Park County. In other words, where Hot Springs Park is where warm waters halt. So in these terms, that would not be a viable solve or a viable solution to that clue. That being said, the Sunshine Reservoirs were the backup warm waters halt location for our solution. So it's still potential that something like that, the Sunshine Reservoirs, where warmth gathers in a reservoir, could have been the answer to that clue. Number two, there's only one prudent path from where warm waters halt to where the chest was hidden. Years ago, Forrest answered a question about whether he followed his own clues to hide the chest or whether he took a shortcut because he's familiar with the area, and he said he followed the clues. There's only one way to his knowledge. So I asked Jack about that, and he said, I think any spot on Earth can be reached by humans now in multiple ways with the right equipment, but it was the prudent path for sure. I take this to mean that there's only one way from where warm waters halt to where the chest is hidden. So what we're really looking for is an entrance to a canyon area where there's only one road or one path in and out, and it's the same path. Not to try and push the Kirwin solution again, but if you traveled from the Sunshine Reservoirs down that Wood River Canyon Road to Kirwin, there's only one way down and one way back out. It's the same road. To take into consideration Jack's comment about people traveling with the right equipment, sure, you could hike through the mountains, or if you had a helicopter or a plane, you could fly over and, parachute down to Kirwin. But there was only one prudent path. Number three on the list of important criteria to keep in mind is that searchers solved the first two clues and came within a couple hundred feet or a few hundred feet of the chest. So this tells us that really once you find the starting point and the canyon, you're probably within, let's say, a mile of the chest or less. I think the final 7 clues and maybe even the last 8 clues are within probably a mile of each other, knowing that the distance that Forrest walked from his parking spot to the chest location back and forth twice. Number 4 is that the home of Brown is not quite obvious. It's not necessarily something that just has Brown in the name, like Brown Mountain or Brown Basin. It's something that may require a little bit more imagination and seeing things from Forrest's perspective. Jack commented that he understood there was a bottleneck at that part of the poem, at the latter half of the second stanza. He tried to understand the psychology behind why searchers were getting stuck there, and he commented that it seemed fitting that that part of the poem was the most like solving a riddle. So the home of Brown requires some thinking here. Number 5, Forrest Fenn walked only a few miles. We know he traveled to the location, parked, walked once to the chest location, left part of it there, came back to his car, got something additional, you know, the treasure or the chest, vice versa, walked back to the location, left it there, walked back to his car. So from a parking spot to the location, back to the location, back to the car in one afternoon, less than a few miles. So if your area that you're searching, you've identified where it would be reasonable to park your car, you're looking at less than a mile walk to the chest location. Because if it was a mile, you're walking back and forth twice, you'd be up to 4 miles, and I think that's probably pushing beyond the definition of Forrest walking a few miles. So if we, you know, take a few to mean 3 miles maximum, you're looking at, you know, three quarters of a mile distance maximum from where you've parked to where you would walk to find the chest. Number 6, and perhaps the most important, is the blaze is something that's unique to the area. Jack has confirmed that if he were to reveal the nature of the blaze, it would essentially give away the location or the general area. I take that to mean that the blaze is something that's unique to that area, whether it's a petrified tree or a petroglyph or a hot spring, something that is unique to the area but perhaps common enough to the area that it didn't stand out immediately to Jack when he was searching on his first 1 or 2 boots on the ground expeditions. So I just wanted to cover those 6 things, things that I think are helpful when evaluating different potential locations. I know there are endless number of solutions that take you out into the forest, and it's helpful to keep these in mind and keep your solves grounded and simple. So hope you find this helpful. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, and I look forward to talking to you again.